All right, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, it's time for a discussion of the night, and tonight I am joined by amazing gentlemen, and I will just give them time to introduce themselves to us. We're talking about the state of the nation, everything that has been hitting center stage in the country, and this is Advice Mundalo, that is the national, I beg your pardon, just a minute, give me a minute, the National Youth Chair, Jubilee Party, and Professor Alfred Omenya, a governance analyst. Welcome to KUTV, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here with us tonight.
Thank you.
So let's just get this going. I want us to talk about the Finance Bill 2023 that is still a contentious issue in the country. And I want us to start off with the proposed 3% house levy. President William Ruto says it is not a tax but law. Prof, I want you to kindly help us understand what this means.
Yeah, whatever they call the house levy, the housing levy, whether they call it is a tax or savings or whatever it is, our position has always been very clear, especially amongst the built environment professionals, that you cannot actually put a levy or a tax on people who are not likely to benefit from it. And I think it has been very clear that the housing levy had nothing to do with housing. And government has initially they said that yes, they needed to provide housing for civil servants, and a lot of experts punched holes through this particular proposal. The question, for example, was if say I am 58 years, so I only have 2 years to work, why am I contributing a house levy? Well, it's very obvious that in 2 years I will not even be able to buy a window to the house, leave alone the house itself. Then there was a question about those who already have homes. Why are you forcing me to make contributions to a levy that I don't need because I already own a home, whether it is in a rural area or in an urban area? And then there was the issue again of the people who may not necessarily want those particular homes or houses the government is actually suggesting. But of course, more fundamentally, and this is something that we highlighted, where on earth has government been able to provide housing for its citizens comprehensively? Nowhere. In fact, where government has tried, it's been a terrible failure. We saw that in the US, with places like the Bronx. We've seen that with public housing in the UK. I spent a lot of time in South Africa. From the time Mundalo came in with this RDP process, we've only had 2.7 million houses and so on. So anyway, whichever way you look at it, it's impossible to provide housing to all the 900,000 civil servants and generally to the rest of the population through government. Therefore, this forced a government and his advisors to explain the mischief behind this. And I think this is an exciting sort of levy, because it is a levy that has nothing to do with what is being levied for. Government has no intention of providing people with houses. That is true, and the president himself has actually highlighted that this is a way to get a pool of resources that government can borrow from, actually to sort out debt, not even to provide housing in the first instance. And yes, they've said that, look, if we don't give you houses in 7 years, we'll give you your money back. So whichever way you look at it, this is a very poorly designed strategy by government to borrow from the public. And I think it is an insult to Kenyans that then you cheat them, that somehow you'll be able to provide some houses. From the time the Jubilee government came in to date, the number of houses that have been provided are actually under 20,000. So this new myth that every single public servant will be provided with a house, I don't even know where it's coming from. The question I keep asking is that government officials and public servants, do they stay in caves? Where do they stay? Because we see them dressed nicely, going to the offices every day. Do you mean they live like wildlife? These guys actually live in houses. So government is trying to solve a problem that does not exist, using instruments that are really very ill thought about and very, very poorly crafted. And I think this should be opposed by any right-thinking Kenyan starting with the president, because I believe the president is a right-thinking Kenyan. He should say that he was misadvised by the people around him, to put this unnecessary tax or levy, we'll call it whatever you want to call it. And lastly, we've actually said, there are very many levies in this country. We have the road levies, we have got the NSF, we have got the NHF, we have taxes and levies and so on. If you look at those taxes, literally all of them, the way they've been designed is that, they benefit us one way or another. If a road is built, it helps the country and it helps everyone. You collect your NSF taxes, you benefit, in your old age schemes and so on. So the only characteristic of this housing levy that is relevant is that it's easy to collect. That is why it's being imposed first and foremost on civil servants, where it can be chopped from the payslip. But immediately after that, it does not have, good characteristics of what a well-designed levy or what well-designed tax is.
Advice. I would love to get your opinion on that 3% housing levy that the president says is in accordance with the law and not a tax.
Thank you so much, Anne. I think on this issue, I think the good professor has said more or less what I would have said, because one of the first problems we have, I have seen Kenyans go to the streets about issues of school fee, about issues of cost of living. I've seen Kenyans complain about hygiene, but I have never seen Kenyans on the street complaining about housing. So I don't know who came up with the problem that government is struggling to solve, because essentially government is solving a non-existent problem. Nobody has asked government to provide housing. Nobody has said they are living, they are not comfortable with where they are living. I understand the rationale where government wants to think that it can improve the standards of living of the people, but that does not mean they should actually reason for the people wholesomely. It does not mean you go directly now to decide what nature of house the people should live in. Remember, we have a thinking society. We have people with a brain. We have people with their own priorities. We have people who are servicing mortgages right now. We have people who have their dream